I believe we're live. Alright, there's my music. Tone that down. How you guys doing? January 19th, 2021. How's everyone doing? This is just a hangout stream. I'm going to just decide to come on here. If you read my description, hi William Walters. I am going on a little small trip tomorrow, out to the mountains. It's funny. I like to go to the mountains to check out some snow and just hang out, just kind of chill out for a little bit. But it doesn't look like there's going to be snow. It's really, really, really warm. Hey, London Sound Factory, Dweed. How you doing, guys? Daniel Salazar. Let's see if we get you up on there. How are you? What's up, Daniel Salazar? And yeah, I'm just kind of hang out with you guys for a little bit. Figured I'd just hop on and just chat for a little bit. And London Soundgarden says, "To the mountains in the search of truth." And I'll check. I'm going to take out my my Canon C70. I've been waiting to. I haven't really messed around with the camera a whole lot lately. I haven't had a chance to, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get it, give it a whirl. Hey, Meryl, how you doing? How you doing, Meryl Rosner? Thank you for hanging out with me, checking out. If I'm going to the mountains near LA, bring a kite. No, I think I would lose that kite ferociously. I'm actually out here in Temecula, which is about 80 miles, 60, 70 miles away from LA, and the winds here are atrocious. They are. I got rid of some. I have some. A friend of mine a long time ago gave me these cubicle walls because I have a warehouse office. He gave me some cubicle walls. Figured I could use them, and I've used. I've used them here and there for the last 8 years, and then finally I'm like, all right. There's no point in having these cubicle walls. They just take up space. So I donated them to Goodwill. And those things are like 60 pounds of wall and metal and stuff. I took them to Goodwill, but the wind was blowing so bad that these things were starting to like blow around in the wind. And I remember walking out of the Goodwill store, and the wind caught the door and like whipped me along with it. And I was like, and it freaked me out. Mian Wang. Hey, Mian Wang. I haven't seen you in a while. First time catching the stream from the beginning. Yeah, the funny thing was, Meryl, she says it's cold. It was cold late December when I decided to make the trip out to I'm going to Idlewild. But, man, it got really hot the last couple days. It got really, really hot, and then like for the last couple days, it felt like because I went for a hike on Saturday, and it was like super warm, and I was like, man, it's gonna be crazy. But and then it's starting to get cold now, so now it's starting to get back to cold again. No joke, but safe. You'll still have a wildfire. Sorry, yeah, it's wildfires out here. In fact, if you do check out this show on Discovery Channel called Cal Fire, I actually worked on some of the graphics for that show. So episodes like 2 through 4 or 5 I worked on. I like this comment here. Jose Aram says, in Temecula, don't drink too much wine. It's funny. I lived in Temecula for about 30 years. I've never formally been wine tasting. I've been to the winery several times. A lot of the business we conduct out here is out in the wineries. Wilson Creek Winery is one of our staples here in Temecula. Their champagne is at every single Chamber of Commerce event, which I do a lot of Chamber of Commerce stuff. So we always do that. But I've never actually formally like gone to a winery and just sat down like, hey, I want to try your wines. So it's like one of those things if you live there, you don't do it. Here's a question. Dujon Franklin asks, is there any good fan review websites you know of minus Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb? There's that one that people use that they diary their own their own view. What is that? Letterboxd. Letterboxd is one of them. So I would recommend that. Is it cold in New York City? Meryl says. Yeah, I bet you guys are a lot colder. You make Californians look like a bunch of, little weirdos and really, really, really sad people. Oh, the pillows on the couch. Let's go to the pillows on the couch. So we're asking some questions about these pillows. I'll put it up in the comments. Pillow on the couch. So we got ourselves. The first one is the Jeff Goldblum Sainthood. This is a wonderful pillow that we got. And then got the Nick Cage as an angry rabbit pillow. So yeah, those are my pillows for the day behind me. That's basically how I keep all women away from here. That's because they just see that. Here we go. Alex K asks, hello, fellow human. Have you seen any decent films lately? Coming at you from merry old England. Merry old England is a place I would love to visit. I would love to visit because it's foreign travel for us American, and I can speak the language until I get to about Ireland. Then the language. Or if I get to Wales, then it gets a little bit fun, a little bit different there, right? What have I seen recently? Well, let's talk about it. We didn't talk about it. WandaVision. I watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. That was weird. I don't know how I feel about WandaVision quite yet. I appreciate the detail and the attempt to recreate the old sitcoms. But I feel like I don't get what the hell's going on or why I should be interested in for the first 2 episodes. I mean, they kind of tease it a little bit at the end of the first episode and a little bit more at the end of the second episode, but I feel like they spent way too much time like trying to make an homage to sitcoms and less time. I wish they would spend a little more time like giving me a little something of a hook to get to why am I watching this again? So yeah, in that sense, it's got my interest in the fact that I don't know what the hell's going on and why are we doing this. Yeah. So the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, they're so well done, so well crafted. I don't know if I'm totally into it. This is one of those things where if I wasn't following it, I might just forget about it. I might have just seen those 2 episodes and probably just would have not come back. But I will probably follow it because somebody will probably remind me in a couple weeks, hey, you should watch WandaVision, see what they did next. Or I'll catch something online somewhere and I'm like, oh, I should go back and watch it. But it's not, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. London Sound Factory adds, I am a great actor in my own can't be right. Could you see yourself playing a detective in an actual movie? Yeah, maybe. I mean, if somebody wanted to I remember the one time I tried to do go out as an actor. It was a film in like Riverside, and they were looking for all kinds of types or whatever. And I submitted like, hey, I'd be interested and they're like, no, thank you. Like I think I have a weird enough face where like I'm not good enough to be a background actor, like, but I'm just so weird looking that I will stand out if I'm in the background. But I'm not handsome enough to be a leading or even a character actor. So I don't know. Oh, Jose came out here. He says he came here to Temecula, I imagine, for a wedding in November of 2019. In the before times. Back when people could speak to each other in the same proximity. And then we didn't have to wear things on our face to just exist in the world. Oh, boy. Let's see I love it. Here we go. I always love this phrase. Nick Cage coat is the GOAT. Greatest of all time. That's awesome. Walter Williams says he didn't know that WandaVision was available yet. The first couple episodes came up last week. The other shows, I think they'll be adding them once a week. And Alec Fredericks adds he's a fan of WandaVision so far. I think the setup for the mystery is fun to watch. I just wish there was more mystery and less of the other stuff. Like, I get that they're trying to create like a sitcom parody. I mean, the first one was obviously something like it was kind of like a Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy kind of a well maybe I guess the first one was more of an I Love Lucy parody, Honeymooners. Um, I just felt like they spent way too much time on that part of it, unless I wanted to see more of the mystery. I'm intrigued by the mystery part. I felt like they spent too much time working on the sitcom part, which I felt was it was okay, but it was a little bit weird. Mr. Bill says he hasn't been to one of these in a while, but wanted to ask any ideas on the next company that will be talked about in the studios. Yeah, I have Fox written, 20th Century Fox. The first half of that was Mr. Fox, Mr. William Fox. Had an issue with. I'll mention it here. I had an issue with the author of the book who was not happy that I used information from the book that she wrote, which was ridiculous because like I talked about the book. But it irked me, honestly. It really bothered me that the author of the book was taking such a rude approach to, basically me creating a film noir kind of a play on it. And honestly, when I hit these things, and this is kind of like my personality, it sours on me. When I get somebody like getting like really angry at me for I don't know, basically doing stuff, it sours me on putting stuff out there. So yeah, I'm not that video. Go ahead and check it out. It's still on. It's still on. They try to copyright me. Take DMCA take me down off of Patreon. I pleaded it on Patreon. Patreon's like, okay, well you got 10 days. 10 days passed and the author didn't come back because they probably came to their senses because you can't copyright facts. You can't copyright historical fact. And so it's still out there, but, like part of me is like, geez, man, like that video did so poorly. That video was so like, I mean, for the amount of effort I put into it, like the number of views we got on that was so bad. Like these live streams I do off the cuff get about half of the views that video did. So like, why do I bother? But they are worth investing in and over time. But it does take time. Right now, I am in the process of rebuilding my studio, rebuilding my set. I'm doing it the Mandalorian style, where I have the virtual background. It's not fully Mandalorian. I've got 3 cheap TVs that will act as my window to the world behind me, and so I'm looking forward to how that will use that in the studios. And part of that will be, I think what I'll do is I'll do like a black and white noir set behind me. So I'll be in color, but the background will be black and white. I think that's kind of cool. I saw that in a podcast, and I thought, man, that's kind of a cool background having black and white. The thing is, like, I hate to, I don't want to lock myself into any background. I like to change things up and change. I want to change things up and change the style whenever I feel like it. So look forward to that later on this year. My videos will always be will have changing backgrounds. The backgrounds will always be a little different. I'll try to keep them. Try to rotate them. But anyhow. So Ollie O'Brien says, "Hey John, your videos have helped me so much throughout the creative media course. Oh, good. You have made it easier to learn from home. I'm glad that worked out. Maybe that's what." I saw a lot of people posting on my comments because I read every comment, because every comment anybody makes on any of my videos, pops up on my phone, so even if it goes back like 8 years ago, I'll see all those videos. But I see a lot of people saying like, "Hey, anyone else here because their class made them?" And I've had a couple people that like got pissed off at me. I got one person that was like really pissed off and just started going off on all my videos. I think he was probably a student that was forced to be in my watching my videos because of class. Amir says, "I was excited for it, but then I started to find out that has the usual Marvel stuff. The initial teasers look fun, but I think there was an idea behind it." Hold on, do I have my? No, I've got my 200 characters. Oh yeah, it's the comment here. No, don't close that. But the producers came in and asked the superhero element be added to it. Well, I mean, look, you're not going to go watch a Marvel product and not get superhero stuff. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, it's like watching a Western without like watching a western and having it take place in space. Although that's cool. I mean, that's Star Trek. But if you're tuning into a Marvel show, you kind of want superhero stuff. Not that I want like superhero stuff out of WandaVision. I just want more of that. Why the hell we watch? Why the hell is she in this old TV show? You know, and it's constantly being changing. Rather than going through the act of the TV show, I think that's more fun. That's the more fun part of it. To me, that's the more fun part is the whole Pleasantville, and that kind of reminded me of very much of Pleasantville, the first episode at least. Why are we in Pleasantville rather than, oh, this is just an episode of Pleasantville we're watching? So that's kind of what I feel about that, about WandaVision so far. Has anyone watched Green Acres? Of course I've watched Green Acres. I haven't actually sat down and watched a lot of Green Acres, but I've watched, like there's a channel called METV around here that does play nothing but old shows. And if you watch some of the, I think I was mentioning the other day I was watching an old Dick Van Dyke episode. It wasn't actually, may have been a special and not his actual show, but man, they have a really good tape master of it because you can see it's so like the motion is so clean in that. Tom Whiteside says, I have a jacket exactly like that. I think a lot of us just do. It's a nice jacket. I probably got this out of your closet actually. So I'll give it back when I'm done with it. Here we go. Jennifer Lilo says or asks, any films you're excited to see in 2021? Sorry if I've already answered this. I have not answered this, and don't be sorry, because I end up a lot of these things answering the same question over and over again. I have not. I think all the films I'm excited to see in 2021 were supposed to come out in 2020. Sure, I mean the James Bond looks fun. I'm still waiting. I do enjoy my Marvel movies, so I'm still waiting to see. Scarlett Johansson's movie, whatever the hell that name of that, and the Doctor Strange one looks interesting. But those are the movies that I know of just because they're really, really high profile. I guess I could tell a story, like, because I was driving in today, and I remember somebody on my YouTube video on 24 frames a second. Those are the ones that always get in the most traffic. So he was talking about how like 24 frames a second is fine, but like sometimes you can't follow the action, like with Mad Max Fury Road. And I thought to myself, are you kidding me? Like Mad Max Fury Road is one of my favorite movies, my favorite action movie of all time. I think that is so brilliantly done. I saw the movie. Like, I am not a big Mad Max fan. I wasn't back when this movie came out. My mom had just had a stroke, acting really weird. Took her to the hospital. Found out it was a stroke and blah blah blah. So I was on my own, and I decided I'm getting my mind off things. I'm going to go to the movie theater and just see a movie, any movie. I don't know what's playing. I'm just going to see a movie. Oh, Fury Road has 91% of the audience rating. Okay, I'll go see that. I have no idea what the hell Fury Road is. I didn't even know it was a Mad Max film. Fury Road, I'm going to go see that. All right, so I go see it, and oh my God, it was amazing. That was like one of the movies I've not seen anything like this. I've not seen anything like this. So I ended up seeing at least 3 or 4 times in the theater. I took all my friends like one by one to see this movie, Mad Max Fury Road. So I think that is a stellar movie. In fact, recently I've actually gone back and watched the last 2 Mad Maxes, the Road Warrior and then Thunderdome, and I enjoy them. But Fury Road is like a level of mastery that is insane. So my whole point with that is I only know about the movies that are high publicity. There could be a movie that comes around that I have no idea and ends up being my favorite movie of all time. So I don't play the game necessarily looking forward to movies because I have no idea what I'm gonna like. Here's a good question. Books you recommend on cinema history. A good primer is James Cook or James? Oh. It's called Narrative, The History of Narrative Film. I think it's Cook. The name of Cook is also, it's used a lot as a textbook in many, many classrooms on film history, and it's really, really, I think it covers everything pretty evenly. And it covers world history, world cinema too. It's got obviously a Hollywood bent. I think I'll be honest, cinema history is very American because Hollywood dominates cinema. It's just truth. I'm sorry, people around the world. Hollywood is kind of like the majority of cinema history. Now, not to say that there aren't other cinema histories. There's cinema histories of, European cinema, of English cinema, of, Indian cinema, of Japanese cinema, of Australian cinema. There's all world traditions have cinema. But if you want to talk about big history of film, it is very Hollywood centric. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm sorry. It's just, and from my perspective, it's just truth. Because the fact of the matter is, like, no matter where you live in the world, you probably have access to Hollywood cinema, whereas I personally, in the United States, don't have access to whatever the latest, movie is from Bangladesh. But Bangladesh has whatever latest movie that I have access to, the American cinema. So that's, so I don't think you can take away the importance of American history as far as cinema is concerned. Will that change in the future? All things change, so we don't know. The next big thing, although I think it's becoming a point where Hollywood cinema, American cinema, is not necessarily American anymore. It's more world cinema. It just happens to be based in Hollywood, although that's probably becoming more and more funded by the Chinese. So anyhow, not to go too much into that realm of inquiry. All right, Brett Walton asks, just finished going through Twin Peaks series. Great show, second time around. Cool. I have not gotten into Twin Peaks. I should probably do that. Here we go. When are you doing an ASMR where you talk about camera technology? You mean like I speak into your ear and I rub like crackly things together? I think people have accused me of doing ASMR with the chalk sounds that I did on those videos. Like the chalk sounds, like they were really important when you're doing chalk graphics. Although there's so much work, like people don't realize when I did the chalk sound effect. Why do you do the chalk sound effects? Because there's chalk writing on the board, and if you don't have it, and it's just like animates on the board, there's no point in having the chalk effect, like the chalk writing. It doesn't work unless there's a sound effect to go with it. So, but then recently I've been kind of leaning away from that and doing doing just straight up fonts, and that way you don't need to necessarily have a sound effect to tie to it. Although if I do like a push, if I'm going to push, let's say if I'm doing like let's see, I can't do a push in this program. There it is, like a slide. Like I like sound effects with those kind of. I like sound effects with those kind of graphics, so I do a lot of sound effects like that. So there's an ASMR, I guess, if you want to call it that. All right, William's gonna go off and eat dinner. So we'll see. Beef with bread roll. Oh, beef stew. I love beef stew. It's one of my favorite things. Although I tend to sometimes get bored with beef stew, and I will put curry in it. I love yellow curry. Ooh, okay, there we go. Space Odyssey. I don't know what this comment is. Oh, is that your favorite movie? Space Odyssey and Blade Runner 2017 or 20? The movie Blade Runner 2049 from 2017. How about any concerts you are interested in attending in 2021? I just like to at this point like to attend any concert. I've had enough of this COVID lockdown. I want to go to a concert. I want to go to a bar. I want to go bowling. Have we gone bowling? How many bowlers are there in the chat here? Any bowlers? I'm a big bowler. I am. My highest game was a 299. I have yet to cross that 300 threshold. I don't think I ever will because I'm really, really out of shape. I haven't bowled in like 2 years, and then before that, I mean, I haven't bowled regularly for like 15 years. I used to go every weekend, go bowling, but now not so much. One Man Show says, I know a scriptwriter in Hollywood, and they are forced to make all hero females from male characters, which is evident. Pisses me off. It's like there's no more strong male leads. I wonder, yeah. I guess there's still a few more male leads. I mean, they are kind of pushing the female lead pretty hard. Like, we can't have Mad Max anymore. It's now all Furiosa. But then again, I don't have a problem with that. I like looking at Furiosa. I think she's an incredible character. So yeah, it is what it is. It's just like all female leads, all strong female leads, and then we're gonna have a lot of that, and then we get bored of that. Then we're gonna have all back to male leads. It's just like whatever. Am I an Orson Welles fan? More or less. I haven't really watched a lot of Orson Welles movies. I've seen obviously the Citizen Kane. I've seen I haven't seen Magnificent Ambersons, but I have seen what's that, Touch of Evil. But boy, he got pretty fat in Touch of Evil. I mean, man, he did let himself go, or he did add padding. I think he added padding to it too. Where did my mouse go? He said, I miss going. Brett Walton says, I miss going to the Grand Cinema in Tacoma, Washington for independent movies. I miss going to the movie theater. I really like Red Letter. I don't think I will vehemently disagree with Red Letter Media. They hate the cinema going experience. I enjoy it. And maybe I don't know why, but I like the idea of being in a room with people and watching movies. To me, that's a good thing, and I don't know why. Well, there's a popular sense in culture to be kind of like dismissive of the movie going experience. I don't know. I kind of miss it. I miss the stupid, beginning ads at the very beginning of the movie. That's so incredibly, banal ads at the top of a screening. I don't miss the crying baby or the annoying talker on the phone, during a movie. That sucks. But just being in the room with other people, yeah, I miss that. Koshka asks, have I seen Peaky Blinders? No, I have not. I have not watched I have been out of the loop as far as British shows go. I did finish up the last season of Peep Show. I thought Peep Show was great. British films. There we go. British films put more effort in well-crafted frames. So do Indian films. So do American films. So do everybody does. I mean, you can't make a statement about any particular race or, claim superiority or nationality. They're all good films, and they're all some really, really bad ones. All right. Idris Elba as James Bond does a work. Is he cool or power enough of a Brit to be a Bond? I don't know. I honestly, first of all, I'm an American, so it's not my place to say. They can do whatever they want. That's their story. They're English. They can do it. Okay. Now you're intriguing me. Mr. Bill says, anyone in here ever have spaghetti with curry? Bloody amazing. You have now piqued my curiosity. Curry with spaghetti, huh? I'll have to think I might make a small experiment with that and try that. Tom Whiteside says, I bowl and golf on the same day, and then when no one's looking, I switch scorecards. There you go. JK actually says, howdy from the STL. STL, what is that? I'm not quite sure what STL is. St. Louis? That's St. Louis? St. Louis, I imagine, I think that's the airport code. Used to be a big airplane. I'm still an airplane kind of freak, but just watched 1917, great camera work, Deakins at his best. It absolutely is. It's amazing how well done that movie was. Here we go. Myan Wayne says, WW84 was pretty shite. Yeah, I'm over it. I've moved on to watching other material. Amir says, I went bowling once with the intention to try to imitate some Lebowski scenes. Couldn't even properly roll properly once through. There are some things you need to learn as a bowler. One of the things I would stress would be the 4-step maneuver. There's the variations. There's a 4-step, there's a 3-step, and there's a 5-step. And 4-step is where they teach most kids to start when they start bowling. And if you get that down, part of the idea with the 4-step is that you want to land on the leg that's opposite your bowling hand. So if I'm right-handed, I would land on my left hand, and that way I would be able to follow through with the shot. Now I'm going to be honest. These days, I'm old school. If you can kind of tell, I'm a little bit old school. I'm very much old school. I've seen the PBA on ESPN, and I cannot stand those guys that palm the ball. I'm sorry. I've always hated it. I hated it as a kid, but now when I was all the kids that did it when I was growing up, now they're getting really good bowlers, and now they're doing it on the PBA. I'm like, God, man. Ugh, I hate palm bowling. Ugh, I hate it. Give me the Norm Duke style. I'm getting to the audience of one here. Give me that Norm Duke bowling style. He rolled his spare ball over the thumb hole. You could hear that. Boom, 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 boom. You could hear rolling over the thumb hole. It was amazing. Norm Duke. Ernie McCracken. Now there's a bowler. Ernie McCracken. Let's get some tech questions. What's your opinion of the Sony A7 III? I don't care about any cameras anymore. I got my Canon. No, I mean, I think we talked about this on the stream a long time ago, but it was my opinion is that Sony makes a very, very technically precise camera. They don't necessarily make a pretty camera. Canon makes a very pretty camera, but it isn't necessarily precise. Like the colors are not quite precise, but the colors on Canon are very, very pretty. The Sony makes a very precise camera. Very, very finely made camera, but they're not necessarily pretty. So that thing, and it depends on what kind of workflow you like. Me personally, I started off as a Sony guy. I was a very big Sony person. I bought a lot of Sony cameras. I own at least 2 Sony video cameras, suggested Sony cameras. But then the DSLR revolution happened, and then Canon kind of won me over with their colors. And I like Canon's colors because it gets me there halfway to what I want before I have to dig into the color grading. So that's why I lean more Sony. A7 III looked like a pretty decent camera as far as price, but like if I'm not in the market for a camera, I don't really get that interested in looking at all the specs. Let's see. London Sound Factory asks, did they say curry with or without tomato? So I don't know. I think this needs to get into further discussion as to how we're going to eat spaghetti with curry. That's going to be interesting how we do. Well, here we go. What do you think about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020? I love it. I haven't spent much time playing. I mean, I have the VR. I got VR specifically for Flight Simulator 2020, and I find myself when I fly with VR. And the only problem with VR and Flight Sim 2020 is the dials are hard to see. So it's a little bit hard to see, but the experience is really why you're there. You're not really looking at dials with the VR. You know, I end up like zooming into the VR to see where my airspeed is. But I spend most of the time in Flight Simulator just looking out the window. In VR, that's what I do. But I think VR in Flight Simulator is mind blowing. I've even like contemplating using Flight Simulator as a way to cheat getting an aerial shot or something. Oh, there you go. Pedro says, was it Shabbos? We don't roll on Shabbos. No, we don't. We don't. And you stepped over the line. Mark it as a foul. Mark it as a foul. The dude abides. He certainly does. Oh, there you go. Watch the. Sorry, my nose is starting. My nose will itch when I stream. That's just the way we do. Watch the intro to the Flintstones. Great bowling tutorial. Did anybody watch the Flintstones movie? I don't think I don't. I remember it happening, but I don't remember watching it. And I was a kid when it came out. Oof. Pedro Silva says, I remember you said Tenet would be better if you knew one character at the start. Can you tell us who it was? I would say it is Edward from New Moon, from Twilight, is the kid. That's the secret. If you know that, the kid that the woman has is actually is the vampire. If you know that, like, it makes it like, oh, that's kind of clever how it's all tied together. But they don't tell you that. It takes like a YouTube video that I watched to tell you that. And like to me, like, oh, that makes sense. And then like the way he goes back through time, he's going back through time, and then at the very final battle, and spoilers obviously, but you guys are seeing this. You've been seeing this. The final battle, like the way you track, he's going back and forward and back and forward and back and forward in time to kind of make that last scene happen. If the movie would have like given you that better, it would have been a way better, way more interesting movie. Oh, I like this. The Sony A7 III is my first adult camera. Ooh, adult. You know, I inspired the purchase along with the 24 FPS. Ooh, adult purchase. My first adult camera was the Sony PD-150. So that was legit. So Pedro says I would have to be way more intelligent to get Tenet anyway. I don't think you have to be intelligent. That's the thing. Like, what bothers me about the way that Christopher Nolan movies have kind of gotten. It's like, oh, you have to be intelligent to understand this movie. Like Interstellar. I'm a big physics nerd, and I follow all the physics stuff, and I read up all the physics, science, and all that. But Interstellar, like, was good physics for about 2/3 of the movie, maybe, or at least fantastical physics. Interstellar has the plot line of a B movie from the 1950s. It really isn't that like brilliantly bright. But then at the very end of the movie, they just take a dump on all the science and say, love can transform space and time. It's like, okay, we're going there. We just went there. It's love, people. It's love. Forget the boson. Forget the Hayes bosons. Whatever. I don't even know if I used the right word. Forget that. It's love. It's love. Sorry, guys. It's love. Love is the power. Love is the greatest power of the universe, or whatever. So the yesterday, I was getting in an argument with somebody on Facebook. I appreciate in these tumultuous times. It's good to get in arguments with people over things that don't matter, like frame rate and things like. So this argument we were having was the beginning of Tenet, and it's called the opera scene, right? Because they're breaking in an opera. But this guy was like, "That's not an opera. Where are the singers?" And I was like, "Dude, it could be an opera." It's like, well, it's not an opera house. They're not in an opera house. They're in a concert hall. I'm like, you can have an opera in a concert hall. Like, yeah, I've shot operas. I've shot operas in churches. I've shot operas in concert halls. I've recorded, and then we get into it. Like he was saying, well, if it's an opera, where are the singers? I said it's the beginning of the thing. The house lights haven't even come down yet. Like the singers are probably off stage. Like, well, come on, John, that's ridiculous. Singers wouldn't be off stage. I mean, they make a lot of noise if they come out of the. I'm like, dude, you must be trolling me. And no, he wasn't trolling me. He was so unimaginative. He couldn't imagine that they could have an opera in a concert hall with the orchestra on the stage. Do like a deconstructed opera. Maybe I mean, it's Europe, right? It's Kiev. It's whatever. So I don't know how we got onto this whole topic, but it's good to argue over stuff that doesn't matter. It's like, oh, that's why we got this idea that Nolan is like the new Stanley Kubrick, and that Stanley Kubrick is supposedly so meticulously like precise. Everything has to be absolutely precise, and Nolan's is super precise. That's just that. I think a couple weeks ago we talked about Hollywood bullshit. That's Hollywood bullshit. Even Stanley Kubrick is not this super precise filmmaker that everyone makes him out to be. David Fincher, maybe he's got more of that streak in him. I think he does. I think because the talk about David Fincher being super precise is not really in the marketing of the movie. It's more about just the people that talk about him. Is like we did that. He's like super precise about what he wants. I can kind of see it more with Fincher. Nolan is not that precise. He's kind of he favors like sci-fi. I want to say he's almost, in a different world he would be a pulp. If Nolan came around in the 60s or 70s, he'd be making pulpy sci-fi movies. High, maybe like high concept, like the original Westworld. If you watch the original Westworld, it's like, it's silly. It's high concept, but it's like, and it's got like, it's I want to say pulpy sci-fi, a B movie sci-fi kind of stuff. Anyhow, I've been ignoring you guys. I've been going off about my fight over whether it was an opera or not. Like it doesn't freaking matter. All right. There you go. Mian Wang has a couple other movies he wants to announce. Pixar's Soul, which I saw that great. Yorgos Lanthimos' short Nimic, pretty good. Yesterday, kind of fun. Kate Winslet's Ammonite, meh. I was listening to another thing I enjoy. I've got a weird thing with audiobooks. Right now, I can't concentrate with an audiobook, but I listen to Kate Winslet read the Weirdies? A short book. Very interesting. Here you go. To be fair, you gotta have a very high IQ to understand Batman Begins. You ever seen the meme of like Zack Snyder folks? It's like, well, people with a high IQ, Justice League, you gotta like understand. You gotta have like a degree in economics to understand Justice League or Batman versus Superman. It requires an intelligence that the average Marvel viewer doesn't have. Right. Okay. Pedro Silva says, I thought the vampire only went back and forth one time. I didn't. Well, like I told you, I didn't get the fact that he, when Edward goes at the very end, you see him like kind of go through back and forth a couple different times, but the whole thing that he's connected to the child, like I didn't get that. The movie, and I'm not an idiot. I can kind of follow most movies, but if the movie actually gave it to you a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, but I felt like Tenet was so wanting to be obtuse that it became obtuse and it became impossible. Like that's the thing. Another movie I really don't like is Synecdoche, New York. We talked about it last stream. How like I enjoyed I enjoyed the hell out of the first third of the movie, but then it got so obtuse and it started like just like annoying me and just like, well, you're not smart enough to follow this. Like, all right, fine, I'm out. I've got other things to talk about or other stuff to watch. I think Ross is talking about Interstellar. The whole crop blight thing didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's as Hitchcock would have said, it is a MacGuffin. They needed a brand new reason to leave Earth. It's a MacGuffin. Who makes the rules? Who says opera needs singing? Well, I mean, it kind of does need singing. What time is it where are you at? It's 1:04 here in Australia. It is 6:04 here p.m. here in the United States. Oh, space. Oh, there you go. That's a good answer. What kind of opera? Who says opera needs singing? Doesn't need singing. There's space operas and soap operas don't have singing. Okay, here's a question. How does one get on set to be a PA? Well, you have to look for a job. Ask whatever production company you're nearby and see if you can get to be a PA on the set and just get hired. You might have to do an interview and all that stuff. I mean, it is who you know. Unfortunately, I mean, it's hard. You can go on websites and job boards and try to find people that are crewing up and try to find a job that way. But it's tough. Michael Scott, the assistant to the assistant regional manager. Is it too late to buy Tesla stock, or would it be a good idea to short it? I am staying out of. I used to be into the stock market as a kid in high school, but I kind of learned it's all BS, and I kind of just back away from it. And I don't have, and for many years of my adult life, I didn't have any money to invest anyway. I'm getting to the point where maybe I should start getting back into it, but yeah, I think Tesla might be too late. Left Hand Puppetry just joined Filmmaker IQ Patreon. Thanks for pushing the Patreon. I'm trying to put more stuff out there for you guys this year. So you're seeing behind the scenes of me building my set there. And I will try to keep it up, and we'll try to keep going. So, Gunnioni asks, who would win in a fist fight? Nolan or Kubrick? I think Nolan has the edge because he's a little more spry. Kubrick's also dead. So, and I think Kubrick's also very, very much a anti-war pacifist. Very, very pacifist. Young Wang says, not really what they said in Interstellar. Physics is pretty spot on. The idea of very ending was that the thing that was built by future humans for the purpose of interacting with higher dimensions. No, it's really what they said in the movie was that love transcends space and time. It's literally word for word what it said in that movie was love. Love transcends space and time was literally what they said in that movie. And factually, like what they were trying to say, and I think the whole final act of the movie, like going into the black hole, that's all nonsense. That's like literally like complete physics bullshit. Like none of that makes any sense whatsoever. Like the whole final act of the movie is just garbage as far as physics is concerned. I mean, it's emotionally interesting. I mean, it's decent. Like I appreciated the gravitas, the pathos of the ending of the movie, but the physics is bullshit. Johnny says the money's on Kubrick versus Nolan. No, I think Kubrick would just basically back off. He wouldn't fight. Brett Wilton says, "Are you into David Lynch?" Yes, I am. I love David Lynch. I've only seen like 5 of his films. I wasn't not a big fan of Eraserhead. So sorry about that's the one I didn't like, and I don't really like Inland Empire, but the other ones, Love Can Transcend Boundaries is what they. No, there wasn't. Love Can Transcend Boundaries was about reaching out to that girl across space. Watch the movie again. The physics is like after like parts of it are good, but the rest is just unbelievably bad physics. Thoughts of Gaspar Noé? I don't really know anything about Gaspar Noé. I know they constantly use that intro from that one movie in like title sequences, and I can't stand that title sequence from that one movie. I thought it was so bad. Well, not so bad. It's so unwatchable, and I get that's the purpose of it. Do you mean oblique and not obtuse? No, I don't. Look it up. Look up obtuse. Is it me, or is the audio terribly low on Tenet and the whispered talked or couldn't hear a thing? Yeah, it's not just you. It's like articles have been, lots of ink has been spilt on that topic. Oh, there you go. Speaking of audiobooks, skip Ready Player 2. It was horrid. I did not even like Ready Player 1. If you want me to go on a rant about, I mean, the book was as entertaining as just a basic kind of a basic, what you call it, it's almost a hero. It's essentially a trek through hero's journey, but I thought Ready Player One was really bad. Just parts of it were just like annoyingly bad. Like you can kind of tell where it was going. I'm not particularly a religious person. It's funny because my name is Gospel John on forums, but I chose that name because it gave me the impression that I was religious. But I chose that name because it's also one of the songs of one of my favorite drum players. Gospel John is a song. Look it up; it's really good. But like in Ready Player One, early on there's just like a page of diatribe about religion. Like so incredibly annoying diatribe about religion. It just felt like a hipster, just like, yeah, you know what, the religion in the future, no one's gonna like religion, and it was like, okay. Like I'm not super religious, although I'm more like friendly with the religious crowd because I spend a lot of time playing trumpet in churches and stuff like that. So I get that, but yeah, like it just felt so annoying, so cloyingly hipsterish. Ugh. So, oh, I gotta check this out. Trial of Seven, Chicago. Someone brought this up the other day. It's Trial of Chicago 7, incredible underrated film, perhaps best of the year. So I gotta watch that. That's gotta be on my list. Mulholland Drive is Lynch's favorite work. I would say it's there. Mulholland Drive is certainly like his peak Lynch. I would put Blue Highway in there. Blue Highway, Lost Highway, and Blue Velvet are like three in there. And I understand because someone was mentioning every time it gets mentioned in the stream. Mulholland Drive, I guess, was originally supposed to be a TV show. So that's why it's got that little bit of the kind of episodic feel to it. Oh yeah. What did Jack do is great fun. Love to see Lynch's surreal. Yeah. Wasn't that the chicken when he was talking to the chicken? I love that. I love that short. No, he's talking to a monkey. That's what it was. And then he went off with the chicken because the chicken was his like girlfriend or wife. Hey, John, what do you think of photographers moving to cinematography for documentary or feature narrative? Advantages, things work out for transition versus pure cinematographers. I don't believe in pure anything. I'm a mixed race person, so I believe everything is mixed. I think photographers moving into cinematography need to realize that photography, like everything that you do in photography, like photography is only one slice of cinematography. So if when you think of a photo is just as a moment. There's a whole different philosophy and mentality of shooting a photo, of capturing a slice of time, whereas motion is capturing the breadth of time. It's a totally different way of thinking about image capture. I think if you're a photographer thinking, I'm going to just jump into cinematography, you're in for a rude awakening. Same thing, although not so much, lesser so if you're a cinematographer jumping into photography, it's actually easier going that way because you're eliminating all the other things you usually think about and focusing on only one aspect. So I think cinematography jumping to photography is much easier than photography jumping to cinematography. Partly too because, and I'm talking about like people that are doing it, professionally or semi-professionally, is that if you're going from photography to cinematography, you have to add sound to your package, and a lot of people don't have that. Whereas cinematographer going to photography, they already have the camera. They have to add maybe strobe lighting, which isn't that expensive. I like this. Every time, like for the last, literally every stream, did you like Tenet? I think I will skip that. I think we talked about Tenet enough. I haven't even thoughts on Generation Kill on HBO. Haven't even heard of that. I'll have to check that one out. Ready Player One to make a good one season show. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was good enough. I think the movie was about average and about the same as the book. I'm not an 80s. I don't have fond memories of the 80s, dude. Like that's a problem. Like Stranger Things. I mean, it was good because it had an interesting story. The 80s stuff, I don't really care about that. Ready Player One. I mean, it was kind of interesting, but I also felt like sometimes the sci-fi. I don't like lazy, easy sci-fi. Like I like sci-fi that's a little more thought out. It's a little more like pressing, a little more like not reality based, but more thoughtful. Like I love The Expanse. The Expanse is really, really good. Holy moly! Hold on a second. Wait a second. What's going on here? I'll do this. Girl person, how you doing? You just gave me a super chat for $50. Holy moly! Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, girl person. And that's just so super kind. And so anyhow, thank you for that super chat. Let's go back to the comments here. As a super Kojima fan, I would like to critique Death Stranding story. Totally reminds me of Nolan. Illogical story points just for the sake of twist, and love prevails. I don't know Death Stranding. I'll have to check these out. I should sit down. Maybe what I'll do in my little short vacations is watch some movies. Here's a good question. Zachary Lenoy says best U.S. city to make a filmmaking career in 2021. Probably L.A. I mean, if I had no ties to Temecula and I had nothing to keep me here, I'd probably end up in L.A. just because of the community. It just is. I'm sorry, but you can make films anywhere. You can make anything anywhere. So I mean, LA is probably where I would want to go. If you're in Austin, that'd be good. If you're in Georgia, I don't know what the city. Atlanta, I guess, would be the city out there. If you wanted to go out there, but if you wanted to just work in movies, if you wanted to work in commercials, you want to make your own independent movies, then anywhere you can get people. Stephen B asked a question. What's your favorite use of breaking the fourth wall in cinema? Ooh, good. Ooh, let me think about that. Well, there's always the Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's like the very ending, where he's just talking to the camera. That's one of the classic. That's like the first one I think about. I know it's probably kind of bad to say it now. We can't talk about this actor anymore, but I always enjoyed. I can't even remember his name anymore. The character from House of Cards, Lester, talking to the camera. I always enjoyed those little things. I can't remember the actor's name because we've so removed him out of our heads. Even though he was like the most wonderful actor for a long time. Now I gotta look this up. House of Cards. What is his name? Kevin Spacey. Yeah, can't talk about Kevin Spacey. Yeah, This channel might get the stream might get demonetized if I talk about Kevin Spacey. So yeah. Yeah, I have to think about it. I haven't thought about what are you guys' favorite ones, fourth wall breaks. Beyond Wangs just echoes my comment about the cinematographer's photography problem. Yeah, I think it's easier to go one way or the other. Not to say that it's easy. It's just easier, I think. All right. I hate it. It's a purely bad idea for a short film to have a big budget, given it's not easy to monetize shorts. I mean, no, you can. I'm not. You can spend your money however you want. You want to blow $1 million in a short, you go right ahead. It's up to you. Like the only decision, it's only you that can decide how much, how the money to be spent. I think Brett Walton asked, "What did I think of Wonder Woman in 1884?" I'd like to see that. Wonder Woman 1884. She's fighting for the right to vote. It might have been too early for the right to vote, actually. Hot Wheels versus Matchbox. Let's get real, folks. Seriously. I'm definitely a Hot Wheels guy. I don't think I ever had a Matchbox. Oh, here we go. This is a good question. Yeet Yeti is a light that at 10,000 lux at 1 meter less brighter than a light that is 98,000 lux at zero point 0.5 meters. Didn't we? Is this your homework assignment, or is this a real quick? No, there is an interesting thing that happens. It depends on what the light. Well, the numbers you gave me here, it's obvious that the 98,000 lux at zero point 0.5 meters would be brighter because of the inverse square law there. But there is interesting. There's an interesting caveat that happens at very short distances that I wanted to do a video on. In fact, I'm going to do a video on when the inverse square law breaks down, because the inverse square law is really regarding a light that is shining in all directions equally. So it's like, think of a star. A star, it follows the inverse square law, or even a bare light bulb follows the inverse square law. When you have like a par light, like one of those aperture par LED lights, where the light is coming off the sensor, off the filament, but it's also bouncing off the radiator, at a close distance, you don't actually have the inverse square law. But 10,000 lux at 1 meter versus 98,000 at 0.5 meters, yeah, that the 98,000 is much brighter. I think. Pretty sure. uh, let's see. Anyway, says, I've been told the trick to affording LA is living in the cheap parts of LA County, just driving 6 hours to work each day. Yeah, basically living about 30 miles away from your work and then driving 6 hours, because that's what LA is. Yeah, but the thing is, the cheap parts of LA are trash. Like they're absolutely horrible places to live. Like, well, I don't want to trash people here. They're not as nice as where I live. Like where I live is relatively nice, and it's not terribly unaffordable. Oh, Fight Club's a good example of a breaking the fourth. Yeah, I forgot about Fight Club. How could I forget about Fight Club? I didn't. I should watch that movie again. It's been a long time. Said sorry, 1984. Kentaro Fukuchi says, "Hi, thank you for the great videos. I heavily quote them in my class these quarantine. Good. I'm glad you get some use out of them. Better than sitting on YouTube getting in and not being what do you call it? Not being watched." Filmmaker Key, do I like 29.97 or 59.94? The same thing. The same thing. No, I like 24 frames a second. I like 23.976. Yeah. 23.976. That's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like, miss. Knock me some frame rates. I'm getting tired. Trade and war stories. Can I offer my actors contracts for royalties instead of paying them up front just in case the movie blows up? Sure, you can. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. I would just add the caveat as being really, really be upfront. Like, hey, I don't have any money to pay you. I'll give you 5%, and then don't do the producers thing where you just start rubber. I'll give you 50% of the proceeds. I'll give you 50% of the proceeds. I'm gonna give you 50% of the proceeds. Just don't do that. I say, hey, if this movie makes more than $10,000, I'll give you like a 5% share of it. How's that? But here's the thing: I don't expect it to make that much. I'm not gonna build your dreams up and think you're gonna make it big. But fair is fair. If it gets to that point, I'll cut you in on some of the price. That's fair. So you can do that. Again, don't be afraid and don't be surprised. Don't be dismissive or upset if some actor says no. I don't want to do that. Pay me now. Then you say, okay, I can't pay you, and you go off in your separate ways. It's the free market. That's what it's called. That's why it's called free, because people are free to do things. All right, Yeet Yeti was asking, this question's for a purchase of a light I need for a set. The products only give those numbers. Yeah, so, well, if it's 98,000 lux at 0.5 meters, that's brighter than 10,000 at 1 meter, just because of the inverse square law. Because if you double the distance, and now I'm being fancy, loose with the math here. If you double the distance, you would quarter the light. So 98,000 at 0.5 meters, quarter of that, 25,000 lux at 1 meter. Although it doesn't quite work that way in those extremely close ranges. So, yeah. And then, I'm trying to think how to word this. Most of them will give you like a couple different numbers. Like they'll say, I think, or wait a second. Were you comparing two lights at 10,000, 98,000? So 98,000 at 10,000, that might be because of the reflection. Anyhow, write in the comment some clarification so we can talk about it. Oh, Wayne's World. Wayne's World, another fourth wall break movie. Favorite war film. Let's go with that. Favorite war film. It's Doctor Strangelove. It's a war film. Gonna watch WandaVision. Oh, there we go. Is there any interesting scientific findings about cinematography something like Kuleshov effect? Well, Kuleshov effect isn't really a scientific finding. It's more of a theory kind of a thing, or more of a film theory. One thing you might want to look at scientific findings is do their eye tracking stuff that a lot of scientists do. Is that they look at where people's eyes are going when they look at a frame. That's kind of cool. I like that as far as analysis goes. Um, there's topics about about frame rate, obviously frame rate and the visual perception, stuff like that. There's some findings. If you want to get deep into like the human visual system, Bloch's law, we talk about how like critical flicker fusion, stuff like that. It can get really, 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 really deep, really fast. It doesn't necessarily have to do with filmmaking. So anyhow, I mean it's weird. So Super Cartoonist, I don't think you have a new icon yet. It hasn't registered in my system yet, so you're still seeing that old one. That was in last time. Ah, Irina Bushkova. Thank you for your channel. We're from Russia. We found you a few weeks ago. Every day, watch your videos. Oh, thank you. John DK wants me to ask you a question. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I don't know. Like, okay, what aspect of filmmaking on a technical side do you guys want to know about in a video? Let's ask you that question. If I were to make a topic of a video, what it'd be like? What's a burning question technically that you guys are interested in? That's my question to you guys. Put it in the comments and we'll talk about it. Eric says, I am making an audio drama and we have some martial arts experience thinking of a video recording this choreography for a fight scene as a reference for the sound editor. I don't think you need to do that. Just make your movie. Oh, unless you're... I'm trying to think, trying to make sense of what you're trying to do. Like video recording the choreography so you can hear, because the sound editor will come with their own sound effects. And the other thing too, like sound effects don't necessarily need to actually be real. They actually need to sound real. They just need to sound cool. All right, let's see another comment here. Please, I don't mind you guys repeating the question. I just gotta go past them. Like Meow says, people just hang out there and edit their stuff to get work done. Really means the community. Where's that? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Apocalypse Now is an amazing film, except for the last quarter. I like the. I don't know. I kind of like the ending of it. Oh, J.K. Axley says down Periscope. Favorite war movie. I really love that movie. That's a great movie. Gal Gadot or Margot Robbie? It's the Battle of the Silent T. Gal Gadot or Margot Robbie? Good question. That is the modern day Marianne versus Ginger, isn't it? I don't know, man. I think Gal Gadot. I think I'm more of a Gal Gadot. I'm a gal sapal. Gal pal. Although Margot is pretty good. Maggot. You wrote down maggot. It's Margot. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate? I'm more of a milk chocolate guy. I don't particularly care for dark chocolate. I will enjoy dark chocolate. Mirrored or mirrorless? Well, to be honest, like DSLRs, when you shoot video, you are shooting mirrorless. The mirror is only for photos. But for photos, I prefer mirrored, actually. I really do actually like looking through the mirror. H.264 or H.265? That's the question I'm going to be asking on this camera, actually. This is a C70, and I can shoot the H.265 HEVC, or I can shoot H.264, or even MP4, and blow my bit budget like considerably. So yeah, Brennan answers that question: 264 for space, 5 for space, 264 for overall quality, or just less, easier to edit. But then even less than that is intra-frame compression. So anyhow, there we go. Pedro, is it possible to shoot 24 on modern digital cameras for it to look 24 frames? That must be what everyone on YouTube seeks. It is possible. It's been possible for years. So that's what all modern digital cameras do. For it to look 24 frames? Yeah. We shoot 24. We've been shooting 24 for about 15 years on digital. Ever since tape went away, ever since videotape went away, and we started shooting on SD cards, we could start shooting 24 frames a second. Oh, talk about edit party. Cash Bunny holds a Zoom server. Long editing sessions get really tiring alone. I can't edit with, like I couldn't possibly concentrate on something else rather than edit while editing. Oh boy, what's your opinion of Chloe Zhao? The writer was great. Can't watch Nomaland. Although I'm cautiously optimistic about MCU's Entrails. Eternals. I have no idea who Chloe Zhao is. Do I think Nikon is done for? I think Nikon was never in the video market. Like if you're a photographer, Nikon is still highly prized, but it's not a video camera. It never has been. Any advice for buying a stabilizer for a C300? Make sure you get the weight figured out. It's the weight. The weight is the issue. Oh yeah, the Dune movie. Will the Dune movie ever be released? That should be 2021, right? I'm going. We're lightning rounding this. Fujifilm X-T3. Not if you're serious about video. If you're a hobbyist with video, sure, knock yourself out. But I wouldn't recommend anything. I wouldn't recommend Fuji for like a serious like professional video application. For photography, absolutely. I think it's probably an awesome camera. I need to refresh over here. Let's see if I just hit refresh on my end here. I'm using this thing called vMix Social, which is a way to kind of send the chats into my screen. So I don't think it's refreshing. Why do I pay for film school? Pi should just give it to you, except you don't assign the grade. Advise my attempts. That's why. Yeah. And film school's got its place, in film school, you get to meet people. You get a semester system. You get like a course outline and all that stuff. There's reasons for film school. Just don't blow $100,000 on it. I got my first feature gig, location sound mixing boom operator, last summer. I watched all your sound videos. Oh wow, thank you. Even I sort of knew what was going for short work. It actually helped. Good. I got a lot of crap from the sound people from my video on the directing one, where I directed like 5 different versions of a script, because I had my friend helping me out that day, and we didn't have a sound editor, but he had like a Ralph's shopping bag, and so he put the sound recorder in the bag and then boomed it just to hold stuff, right? And so I got so much shit I got shit on so bad on this sound forum, professional sound guys. Professional sound guys are the most surly people of any crew, because no one cares, no one likes them. No one likes a sound crew. No one likes them as people. They're just horrible people. Just kidding. Just kidding, sound folks. No, you're not. No, I'm not. Oh man. Question: edit yourself or hire someone else to edit? Whoops. Heck, stay on screen. I would edit myself because I edit. Although, having someone else take a look at your stuff is always a good idea. When should you rent and when should you buy? Awesome question. You should rent when you have a one-time use or a very limited use for the product. You should buy if you need that product like multiple times a month. So let's say if you have a project coming up and you're going to shoot a movie. Let's say you're shooting a movie. If it's your only movie, you should rent the camera because you are not going to use it after you're done with the movie, right? But if you open a video business where you're going to use that camera, say 3 or 4 times a month or 5 times a month, you should definitely buy it, because renting it may not make sense at that point. And then the other aspect of renting or buying is if you rent a camera, that means you need to know how to use that camera when it arrives, and you need to learn how to use that. You are paying to learn that. You are on rental time to learn how to use that camera. So you should probably already know how to use the camera if you rent it. But if you buy it, you have a lot of time to spend learning it, and you're practicing with it, all that stuff. So there's an argument there that you should buy a cheaper camera to learn all the ins and outs, and then when you rent it, you should, you should know how to use it. Should time travel become a pack thing? I would travel back so that FNC was never formed. I don't know if it's FNC's the problem. Also, if 20th Century Fox bought Marvel and Lucasfilm each at least 15.5 years ago, but parent company 20th Century Fox is at least $10 to $15 billion smaller. Okay. I'm not quite sure I follow any of that. As far as Disney being a semi-monopoly, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Disney is a semi-monopoly. Like, I don't find myself watching that much Disney Plus. I watch a lot more Amazon. So I think Amazon's and I watch a lot more HBO Max actually. So Warner Brothers, Amazon, and Netflix give Disney a little bit of a run for their money. Now we gotta keep our eye on Disney. Let's not take our eye off the ball there. They are definitely worth keeping an eye on as far as monopoly is concerned. Burning question technically: how composition affects the psychology of the viewer and how to use that. Ooh. See, I think the thing is, you're looking for a science answer, and the answer is not in science. It's going to be in subjective experience. I think that's kind of, we have to be careful. Like, I can talk about some science things about filmmaking, but I think if you're looking for like how the psychology of the viewer, I think either those are going to be very self-evident. Like for example, I was talking about, so I was on Reddit today and I was looking at somebody was posting a design. They're redesigning the Lunchable label. And I'll show you what the Lunchable label looks like, right? So they were redesigning Lunchable. Here, I'll put that up on my screen. And what they did was they kind of redesigned the label, but they replaced the here's the full screen of that. They replaced the picture of the food with a big giant logo that said Lunchable across it right there. And I mentioned to the person, it's like, well, the design of that, I like what you did as far as the graphic is concerned. But if you don't have a window into seeing what that Lunchable is, like I can see there's crackers, there's some cheese, but I can see that this is a turkey because I see a piece of turkey on the box itself. I know that's a turkey Lunchable. If you don't have that, then people who don't read, like kids, or people that don't read English, that don't read what turkey is, they don't know what's inside that thing. So in that sense, those like little self-evident psychology things I think are important. But like, I think getting back to my point, which is that, oops, can we go back to my camera? Go back to my camera. Cut. Oh, that's weird. Maybe if I do that. That is weird. Now it's stuck on my camera. Oh, that's why. There we go. It's like most psychology things, as far as composition, are going to be self-evident. Like the way that makes you feel, I don't buy any of that. Don't buy any of that golden ratio bullshit. Don't. Golden ratio is not as special as people are making it out to. But anyhow. Noom says, recommend renting lenses, not cameras. I say recommend renting both. Especially, cameras too, because like if you have a camera that if it breaks down on you, it's good to have a rental because then you just get another one. Yeah, rental time. That's why I buy, because when I can play, there are certain, like examples. Like I did a video where I have one Sennheiser wireless system that I use for most of my videos, and I occasionally need a second one. but I don't always need a second one. I already have one to use on all my shoots if I need it. But I don't. But when those times where I need a second audio wireless, I can just rent that, and that saves me $600 to buy it, or I can spend $50 to rent it for 4 days. Hey Rick H, how you doing? Slid into the stream. He was busy releasing a video himself on the Wrench Mine channel. Check out his channel, Wrench Mine. Okay, here we go. Why do certain cameras like the Z-Cam not change stops of dynamic range above middle grade no matter what ISO, but others like the BMPC do? So that is a very technical question. Let's get into it though. The reason why the BMPCC does that, and the reason why a lot of like the Alexa does that, is they're called cinema cameras. I think that's one of the defining things about the cinema camera that makes it that way. And the reason it changes the distribution of highlights and shadows above and below middle gray is because it's trying to maintain dynamic range. Like when you don't change the stops, like the way it shifts it up and down, you actually reduce dynamic range as you gain up, as you go up in ISO. So, like older cameras, as you increase the ISO, the noise floor goes up, and as the noise floor goes up, your dynamic range shrinks. That's the reality of life. There's no way of getting around that. But the way the cinema cameras compensate with that is instead of just raising the noise floor, but you also raise the ceiling, so it all kind of goes up and down together, and that makes it more of a cinema. I think that's what classifies it more as a cinema camera. It's not a video camera necessarily; it's more a cinema camera. The idea that you have a little more control over that kind of thing. So, interesting question, and interesting. I've thought about that a lot actually. It's interesting why they call it cinema camera. Gononi says the film was mega low budget, so I had a recorder sitting in a picnic cooler bag hanging around my neck. Not ideal, but it did the job. Don't let those sound guys see you do that. They will go off and they attack me because I'm teaching cinema. I'm teaching filmmakers how to do this stuff. And it's like, whatever. I don't know. Take your licks. Whatever. It's all good. There's an old trick that I learned on one of my heroes told me. And it's Scott Adams, who's the creator of Dilbert. He didn't tell me specifically. I learned from him. This is a technique of when you get a nasty comment or you get something bad on your YouTube channel or something, or somebody hates you on your YouTube channel, you should say this in your head. Cha-ching. Every time you get a nasty comment, cha-ching. Just do that, and you'll train your brain to realize that that it is not that bad. Pedro says, my Chrome and favorite bars look just like that. Night mode everywhere. I like night mode better. I like better than white. Yeah, Anaran says, we can hear you now. I know. I had the video on the audio channel on the wrong thing. All right. Yeah, DK says, I didn't know the cinema camera thing. I don't think that's necessarily... Like don't take that to the bank. Like I think that denominator that it's a cinema camera just basically means you need to treat it a little bit more like film, and that you do this push-pull technique, and that you need to have a little bit more of a approach to exposure a little bit more carefully, because it's not just a regular video camera. I think the Blackmagic is kind of aping off of the Arri Alexa, because the Alexa doesn't have ISO; it has exposure index, whereas maybe it does have. I don't know anything about Alexa really that much, but I know that when we're talking about this push-pull technique, it is really called exposure index, and that's exactly how film works. So if you you can overexpose, push and pull film up and down, just the same way the Arri Alexa works. And I think Blackmagic's kind of copying that to kind of give themselves a little bit of an air of superiority and make them more cinematic, whatever. But like traditional video cameras don't do that thing where they push-pull the dynamic range. Yeah, I don't know what to do, Super Cartoonist. It's just doing that thing. I don't know what to do with the chat, with your graphic. Yeah, no, I'm sure the Alexa has ISO. What I'm saying is the graphic that we're dealing with. Let's see, the Alexa push pull. It's really that's not the right Alexa camera. It's in regards to what's called exposure index, the famous graph that I've shown many times. Dynamic range. There, this one right here. I'll just pop it up. That graphic on the right there, let's see, it's EI 160, EI 200, EI. That's exposure index. It correlates with ISO. It essentially is ISO, but it is, I think, it's a little more technically correct term, exposure index. It's a little bit more of a technically correct, although I'm sure ISO works just as fine. Oops. There you go. I had my face covered up. So yeah. Oh, you got an anime of super cartoon that says an anime of me. Uh-oh. That scares me. I don't know what we're like. I don't know what we're talking about, but I like the camera in Halloween. Or you ever watch old movies and just like try to pick out what camera they're using? Like, you guys watch Nightcrawler and picked out what Sony Handycam he was using? So I think it was like the HV or the Sony. It was the Sony HDV camera that he was using for that. So I think I have the same one. All right. Did anyone watch Mank? Yeah, I watched Mank we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's worth watching. I think my whole thing was like I didn't like the sound design of that. I think we were talking about. I think the story of 2020 is I didn't like the sound design. I didn't like the sound design of Tenet. Didn't like the sound design of it. Yeah. Wouldn't it be manga since it's not animated? Anime. I have no idea what the difference in anime and manga. Is that what the difference is? All right. Rigel 7 is Mank like Monk. No. Nothing like Monk. I love how in movies, laptop webcams look like Aries or Reds. Exactly. And then, all those little annoying things about, enhance and all that stuff. What did they use in Blade Runner 1982? They used film. 35 millimeter. I believe it was 35 millimeter. I don't think they shot anything higher than that. David Paston says, how are there so little people here? How there's so little people here? I think everyone here is of normal size. I'm not sure. The fact of the matter is, my subscriber base has been built over years and years and years. So I think a lot of those subscribers are no longer active, or either that or I'm buried way deep in the subscription. So this channel it looks bigger than it is. I'm very, very small. I'm small until I can hang around you guys and like talk to each one of you guys almost individually. Now, my goal would be great to the point where I can no longer talk to you guys, and the stream would just be like insano, and you couldn't follow it. But then again, that wouldn't be as fun, would it? It'd be more like me talking to a crowd, and then the crowd like yelling stuff at me. And there'd probably be a lot of like annoying people like yelling, things. So, Super Cartoonist thinks he's my first subscriber, like the first Avenger. He's the Captain America. He's a Super Cartoonist, the Captain America. There you go. So I guess we're going to talk about Timo says change your life, buy Bitcoin. I don't think it would change your life. I think you just have less money. I mean, you'd have less money now because it's inside Bitcoin. DK says, for my greed, I'm glad your channel is as it is. Well, I'll get a few more. I'll get some more dollars in here. That would be cool. Thanks. Zachary says, thanks for your videos. Helped me many times. One of the reasons I don't necessarily recommend people go to film school these days. Yeah, you go to film school. A lot of film schools are using my stuff, so. Giovanni thinks the best look is 16mm blown up to 35. Okay, that's fine. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'm gonna go buy some Bitcoin. No, just kidding. I don't have enough. I don't have that kind of cash. I'm not that rich. It is about. I've been on here for about an hour and a half or so. I'm going to get ready to do my. Do I do Matbox? What the hell's Matbox? I don't know what that is. Anyhow. Oh, what the hell? Well, since you guys are throwing stuff at me at the very last minute, what's my opinion of Film Convert additional grain via plugin? I'm fine with it. If it helps, it helps. Sometimes it's just one of those things where you don't necessarily want to, add the film grain or not. It's up to you. It's whatever makes you happy. It's all about what makes you happy, man. It's all about producing the video, the film, the whatever makes you, whatever you like. We'll leave that on that parting thought. It's whatever you want. It doesn't have to be what someone else's wants. Quit asking me if it's okay. Is it okay for my actor to address the camera? It doesn't matter what I think. It's what you think. It's what you think. I'll break the fourth wall. It's what you think, right? When I say go out there and make something great, I don't mean go out there and ask permission to make something great. No, I'm saying go out there and do what you think is right. Do what you think is good for your movie. Do what you think is cool. Do what you think is awesome looking. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you didn't do it right because you didn't follow this thing. Well, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. If you like it, does it matter? That's what I'm saying. If it makes you happy, it can't be bad. That's true. It can't be all bad if it makes you happy. So at least, it may not make anyone else happy, but if it makes you happy, So, what? You usually get emails about courses and stuff. Is this place I'm asking? Oh, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me. So, yeah. So I'm going to take off for a little bit, get away from the world, and go to the mountains and hang out with the fresh air. And maybe some snow up there. Who knows? Maybe. So I will see you next week. We'll come back next week, and I'll keep you guys up to both. Check out my Patreon. I've been posting updates about the studio and how it's coming together, and it is coming together. Next week will be a big week for the studio. I'm going to probably be painting next week, so it'll be exciting. All right, guys. I will see you guys later. All that's left for me to say is go out there and make something great. I'll see you next time. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.